When we talk about the DNA that makes us who we are, something happened 200,000 years ago, and the truth is we don't know what it was. But we showed up as fully modern beings, called anatomically modern beings. AMH is the acronym that's used. And now that we're able to pull the DNA from the fossilized remains of those forms of life and compare them to us, we know that we haven't changed in 200,000 years. We are now as we were 200,000 years ago. So all these capabilities that we're talking about, they didn't evolve slowly, gradually over long periods of time. Boom, we've been wired since day one to have this access and this mastery to our internal technology. My interest, one of the things that fascinates me is how did that happen? So when we look at the reverse engineer the DNA that we have today, what did it take to get where we are today? And one of the mysteries is human chromosome number 2. It's the second largest chromosome in the human body. It's about 8% of all the DNA in each cell. Human chromosome number 2 has the gene that gives us our extraordinary brain, 50% larger than any other primate. And there is one gene, it's called TBR1, is the gene in human chromosome 2 that's largely responsible for this neocortex that we have. And the sixth layer of the neocortex has the mirror neurons that give us the ability to learn, super learning and super memory, just like that. So who or whatever is responsible for our existence imbued us with this chromosome number 2. And my question is, how did that happen? It was determined in the National Proceedings of the Academy of Sciences in the volume that's called Genetics. They were able to determine that human chromosome number 2 is the result of a fusion of 2 pre-existing chromosomes. They were in other primates. They were fused in a way that gives us these capabilities. Now, I've had biologists come to me and say, Greg, fusion of DNA is common, and this is why I want to address this right now. It is common in the way that it typically happens, and what happened with us is not common. So what typically happens is when DNA fuses, you'll have 2 chromosomes and there will be a break for some reason. It could be environmental toxins, it could be radiation from the sun. Something happens and the chromosomes break. So they break apart and part of the chromosomes reabsorbed and what's left fuses together, all right? What happened with us, when we look at chromosomes, on the end of chromosomes, there are very special pieces of DNA called telomeres. They are protective caps that are also markers for longevity. So as we age, we typically lose the telomeres, but the things we're talking about allow us to actually regenerate them. So those telomeres are on the ends of the chromosomes. What happened to our chromosome 2 is that there were 2 chromosomes fully intact that were fused, so the telomeres are not only on the ends, now there are telomeres in the middle of that chromosome. That does not commonly happen, and that is one of the telltale signs that there was something very, very unique. You don't see that happening. As if that were not enough, after the fusion happened, to stabilize this new chromosome and to make it more efficient, there were parts of the DNA that were added, parts of it that were taken away to streamline and stabilize that chromosome number 2. And it all happened at once 200,000 years ago. This did not happen slowly, gradually over a long period of time. And the same time that was happening, chromosome 7 was altered to give us the ability for complex speech, connecting our tongue and our brain and certain parts, certain muscles in our body, and other chromosomes. So the fact that these happened simultaneously, such complex changes, so precise, all at the same time. In scientific terminology, if you have the odds of something happening are 10 to the 400th power, scientists say that is pretty much impossible. When they look at the DNA that I'm talking about, these changes, they say the odds of this happening are 10 to the 600th power, which means it's more than impossible that this happened by chance. The odds are greater than not that there has been some kind of an intervention. I don't know what it is as a scientist, I cannot say. But I will say that every ancient and indigenous tradition, this is the basis of their story, the creation story about who we are, that we are connected to a greater community. And it's interesting, they always say they. They never say he or she or it, it's they. Multiple intelligences are responsible for for us. Now, what that means scientifically, I think, is just on the horizon. I think we're going to find out.